you kind of have just that feeling or that nagging, like knowing. So that's the soul. And then the last is the universe. And the universe typically comes last. It's like, if you aren't listening to your body and you aren't listening to your intuition, the universe will throw you some crazy stuff to sort of try to be like, no, you're not in alignment. Like, this has gone on too long. And I definitely experienced that. I've experienced that many times in my life. And all of them have been blessings in disguise for sure.
Yeah.
But like, if something really bad happens or things just aren't going your way, it feels like there's a ton of blocks, a ton of challenges coming your way. It's likely because you're not in alignment and the universe is kind of trying to like push you towards a different path or push you more into alignment. As well as sort of like, especially in your career, if like you set these specific goals within that career. So like, for example, getting a promotion, and you find there's just like continuous obstacle after obstacle or challenge after challenge, you might seem to almost get it and then you don't get it. That may be, of course, like, if you know it's truly right for you, like sometimes challenges do just come up. But if it sort of feels like it's kind of trying to push you in a different direction, like the universe is probably trying to be like, this isn't the right place for you. There's better opportunity out there. And so those are sort of the things that I would look for.
Yeah, I love that. And I think often it's easier for people to listen to the universe because it can be so easy to not listen to your body and to be like, okay, well, yeah, I'm a little tired. Like, everybody's tired. That's why there's coffee. Like, I think just the way that our society functions, right, is so, and
Mm-hmm.
then also it can be so hard to listen to your intuition because there's a million different things going on. And like, with whether it's social media or the news or things happening around your family and friends and work. And so it's hard to take the time to really just sit with yourself and actually familiarize yourself with that word again or with that feeling again. I said word because intuition is my word of the year for 2023.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
I love that.
I needed to reconnect to it in a deeper way. I left my old company in July 2022. And so this, I was like in a bit of a moment of a transition. We got married, different
Mm-hmm.
things. And this year was about like, okay, like really coming back and connecting to it and listening to it. Also, especially after I also had SIBO. And so going through all these elimination diets of like somebody else telling you like, do this and it's going to work. And I'm like, hello, it's not
Mm-hmm.
working. Like, there's something else. And that's where I loved what you said about how some of these can be a manifestation of basically misalignment, because I
Mm-hmm.
really think that's happening to me. And I talked to, different functional doctors and TCM doctors, and I was like, this is actually not about food for me. I mean, yes, of course, it's super important to not eat, as you said, processed foods and all these things, and important to have a healthy relationship with nutrition and making sure that you're fueling yourself up with the best kind of nourishment. And I think a lot of these have a much more, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspect of it. And so for somebody that's like, hearing this maybe and saying, okay, this is me, like I'm totally out of alignment. I'm seeing the signs. I'm starting to understand and put the pieces together. What are some of the things that you recommend to someone that's like, whether it's somebody coming to you or just, listening here thinking, how do I then take a few steps towards becoming more aligned, if I even like know what that is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So alignment is truly just living in a way that that allows you to be your most authentic self. And the problem that I find that most people have is that they are disconnected from the self. And that was
Yeah.
my issue. And I thought that I had all of this self-worth, all this confidence, all of these things because I actually just had high self-esteem, which was that I was good at school and I was good at the sports I played and I did have a good social life. And I tied my worth to all those things. And I was like, there's no way I'm not confident. Like, because I am confident. Like I like who I am, but I didn't know who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the number one thing that I teach my clients and that I work on with my clients is first reconnecting to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just it's a journey. I connect more with myself every single day and through every single experience I have, whether that's like through self-love or whether that's through a really difficult challenge. And the one thing that I have found, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a coach, but because I personally work with a lot of coaches, um, is that the number one thing that I really suggest for connecting deeper to yourself, yes, doing the journaling work, amazing. Doing the meditating, doing the breath work, all amazing. And I do all of those, and those are all a huge part of my journey. But I do not think that I would be anywhere close to who I am today or know myself anywhere close to as deeply as I know myself today without working with the coaches that I have worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe that when you work with people who have connected to themselves deeper than you have, they invite you into that level of connection to self for that sort of period of time that you're in their presence. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and they really it's almost like learning a new language, and it's like you're never going to be great at it unless you go and live there, unless you like go and live in the country that speaks it. And so being with someone who speaks the language of being deeply connected to self allows you into that space to open you up to understanding how you are supposed to be talking to yourself, how you're supposed to be treating yourself, what practices work. And especially working with someone who is more intuitive or a spiritual coach has been really, really transformational for me. And those are the only coaches I've really worked with, whether it's a business coach, whether it's a personal development coach, whether it's a health and wellness coach. Like they all have that element of spirituality, um, because it really is all about just having access um, to someone who has met themselves that deeply. And for me, something that has also been really that I have learned through working with these coaches is doing things like the inner child work,
Mm-hmm.
doing things like energy healing, cord cutting. All of those have been really transformational for me. And as I've worked with them more and more and seen how they do it and how they work with me to do it, I've begun to learn how to do it myself. And that's how I really learned how to do it, to first to myself, and then I began doing it to clients. Um, and so it really is reconnecting to yourself and to your worth and working through the limiting beliefs, because all those past traumas that you're pushing down, all of the limiting beliefs that you're pushing down, all of the negative emotions that you aren't willing to accept, you aren't allowing to surface, are what are being stored in your body. And I don't know if you've heard of like that, where it's like dis dash ease, like instead of
Yeah,
disease. And it's
disease. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's just the dis-ease in your body, that
Mm-hmm.
the lack of the areas where there's not harmony in the body. um and so that truly is um connected to self. And when I first started doing my page of my health and wellness coaching, the first sort of offer that I had done was to actually sort of teach people how to intuitively, like intuitive health and wellness. So, how to
Mm-hmm.
understand their own cues, how to provide for themselves, because exactly what you were saying, nobody can tell you really what's wrong with you and what's going on.
Mm-mm.
Only you know that. And it's your
Mm-hmm.
ability to connect with the body, to connect with the soul, to connect with sort of the emotions that are coming up when you think about like that gut pain, when you experience that gut pain. What were you just thinking about? What did you just do that may have been like self-sabotaging?
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. And only you can really do that. And it really is a skill that you can learn, and it can amplify not only your health and wellness, but your entire life, and allow you to really live in alignment with your inner self and your physical self, because all of it's connected. So really have that mind, body, soul be in alignment and be working optimally so that your life can be as easy and as abundant as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I loved everything you said. And I think, especially as coaches, it's so important for us to continue to be coached, right? Like, as we
Mm-hmm.
continue to help others, for us to continue to help and grow with ourselves. And I love the combination. Like, I also, do some like more talk therapy with a spiritual coach, but then also receive a lot of Reiki and energy healing. And the mix also is so beautiful because you're able to like sometimes just let go and receive and let the energy do its thing, and then other times really more cognitively like make sense of it and understand, as you said, some of the limiting beliefs that you have, and and how you can kind of move on from that. So you talked a little bit about, being great at school and great in sports. And so you had a little bit, I guess, this limiting belief that that was what was making you worthy, right? All the
Mm-hmm.
external. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I totally feel you because this was me too. How does this, like, does it ever creep back up in your life today? What does it look like? What are some of the tools that you have to notice it, and maybe reframe it if it comes up?
Exactly. Yeah. I of course it still comes up. It's something that I dealt with for 20 years of my life. And what I like to say is sort of that, and I was just talking to a client about this, I was just talking to a friend about this, but that it's not about the thoughts that you have, because thoughts will continue to come up. There are intrusive thoughts that you don't really want to think, but they pop into your head, and it's the way that you react to them. And that's the biggest difference for me now, is that my reaction to these thoughts
Mm,
is so different. And it is always first, I don't this isn't my thought, I don't need to accept this as my truth. And then moving into, okay, what do I want to accept as my truth? And sort of creating like
mm,
affirmation from that. So something like, I am inherently worthy of love and success, and understand that that's the belief I want to operate from, and then trying to take action as a version of myself who truly believes that as quickly as possible, because your actions train your mind and your body what you believe. It becomes your habits, it becomes the way you show up in your life. And a lot of times it could be super uncomfortable to actually act as that person. And for me personally, right now, like a lot of this stuff does come up in my business. So a lot of times, like I'll face procrastination because a limiting belief will come in, and I just have to be like, I'm gonna still do the thing that I promised myself I would do, because I'm teaching
mm,
myself it's not that hard, and that I am worthy of the result that will come from this. And so
mhm,
even if it takes me like 30 minutes to write like one comment on a post or something, I will force myself to do it, because the next time it will take me 20 minutes, the next time it will take me 10 minutes. And then before I know it, it's just a habit. And so acting as the person who believes what you want to believe is really, really
mm,
big. And again, like it's the reaction, not the thought itself, that matters. And sort of what you were talking about sort of external validation being where I was placing my worth, especially if that is resonating with someone who's listening, and they're like, yeah, this is me, and how do I change that, and how do I act differently from how I'm currently acting, or how do I believe something from what I currently believe. um external the reliance on external reward and validation is the result of not having your emotional needs met. And this is something that during people sort of develop during childhood, because what would happen is, if your parent or guardian couldn't emotionally provide for you, and because you were so young, you would find something else to sort of provide that emotional need for you. So for example, if you needed love, and your mom was working and she couldn't give you that love at the moment, you would go and try to find love through something else external, because you hadn't yet been taught how to emotionally provide for yourself yet. However, in our world of like overconsumption and social media, with just so much access to all this stuff, in this day and age, it's so much easier to continue with using those external things as like band-aids to actually meeting our own emotional needs, that a lot of us don't take the time to actually learn how to do that.
Mm.
And so an example I like always say, and I love to say, and I think that it makes it really relatable and everyone be like, oh, is like as a child, if when you went to bed, right, and you were sort of scared or you felt lonely, right? But your parents couldn't be there because your parents were like, no, you sleep in your own room. And so instead of them being there with you to make you feel safe and to make you feel loved and to make you feel less lonely, they would give you like a teddy bear or a blanket or a pillow. And you
Mm-hmm.
get really attached to that because that thing's actually band-aiding that emotional need. It's filling that void for you. And if you don't actually do the work to learn how to show yourself love, to learn how to make yourself feel safe, you will continue to rely either, I mean, some people I know still have their teddy bears and their pillows that they
Yeah.
sleep with. And even if that's not the case, like maybe it turns into you jumping from relationship to relationship because you need that person there to make you feel that way. Um, and so it truly is learning how to meet your emotional needs yourself so that you don't have to rely on those external forms of validation and reward. So if that's like the issue that you find is really sort of causing um, causing a lot of your limiting beliefs and fears, it really is about learning how to emotionally provide for yourself. And again, that's really learning yourself inside and out, because that way you know when
Mm.
your body, your mind, your soul is asking for something, and then you know exactly how to provide for it because you're so in touch with it, and because you have such a
Mm.
deep relationship with it.
What's an example of maybe whether it's like a client you've had or even your personal of like something they used to do versus now understanding, okay, this is actually what my emotional need is and this is what I'm giving to myself?
Mm-hmm. That's good. Um, Let me think. Yeah, so one of my clients had a belief that, her value was in the way that she looked. Um,
Mm.
and so that many times manifested into her really caring about her appearance, really caring about the way that people talked about her appearance, and that limiting belief that her worth was in her appearance. And doing the work, she was able to actually realize that the reason that she sort of wanted that external approval is because she believed that, or that because the reason that she was sort of so obsessed with her looks was because she believed that all of her value was within that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was taking back her power and realizing that she wants to be someone who is known for who they are as a person and for the value that they provide, whether that be like intellectually or whether that be the way that she gives love or whether that just be like
Mm.
her presence. And so really, first, it's really about when we first started working together, didn't even realize that that was really the limiting belief that was going on. And then once she
Mm.
did, it was sort of identifying what her true purpose is, what she really wants to call into her life, and then continuing to sort of to act as that person who
Mm-hmm.
is valued for who she is as a person, for the love that she provides, for her intelligence, for what she adds to a conversation, and making sure to create boundaries around that as well. And telling people like I don't like when you speak to me only about my appearance. I
Mm-hmm.
really want to make sure that I am engaged in conversations that are deeper with you than simply just maybe what I'm wearing or whatever. And so she's really been able to shift into, whereas before all of her worth was in sort of her external appearance, she's been able to shift into creating relationships and creating the version of herself that, because you know what it truly is, it's really her creating the version of herself that wants to be known for more than her looks.
Yeah,
And it's
for
that
sure.
shift of internally realizing that belief no longer served her, and that was based on past desires and past beliefs. And
Mm-hmm.
now understanding that the person that she wants to be is someone who's valued for so much more than that and acting as that person. So whether that be like creating boundaries, altering relationships, just the way she speaks to herself, as opposed to always being focused on her own looks, like where can she focus on her internal worth? And so that's been really great to see as well.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a good example. That's beautiful. Um, Going into intuitive life coaching, can you talk a little bit about what that looks like if you incorporate it like with the same clients that come to you for holistic health in general? Yeah, what does it look like?
Yeah. So when I had been working with my spiritual coach, she did a lot of intuitive work. And what I found was that it was so comforting to me
Mm.
because I felt understood, and I no longer felt like crazy. I was like, oh, she also got that. So I'm not crazy. I'm not just making this up. Like she knows, like she knows who I am. And so I really fell in love with that. And that was something I just before I even started coaching, sort of just started kind of trying to tap into my intuition, and be able to do that for myself, because I love the way it made me feel when I was a client, and I wanted to be able to do that for myself. And then as I began coaching, I do incorporate it. I personally believe, I think that everyone sort of has different intuitive gifts, and I truly believe that my intuitive gift is helping to I can intuitively with others identify or ask questions that reveal limiting beliefs and fears that they're holding on to. And I can intuitively sort of tap into that. And so a lot of times before a session with a client, I will do an intuitive reading and just see what I gather. And I never really bring it up first. It's more so one, like if they say something that completely aligns with what I wrote, which happens a lot of the times, I'll say it because I feel like that helps them, it helps them feel understood and comforted that I already had picked up on that. And it's
Yeah.
like just such beautiful confirmation for both of us that the work we're doing is really impactful, and it's really aligned. And then two, sort of if we get to a place where like we're in the middle of a call, they don't really know what else to talk about, they don't know what else to do, we feel kind of stuck, I can also bring that up and talk about that. And I think it's just I find it to be an amazing part of sort of the coaching, and it for me makes it really fun. I hope it also makes it really fun for my clients. But I have done a couple of readings and stuff on my page a couple of times. But yeah, sort of figuring out how to continue working that in, but that's what I like to do right now.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think people are seeking this kind of thing for sure. I see it just having grown more of the Reiki side of my practice, that
Mm-hmm.
it's something, when somebody's on a table or even in a session of like distance Reiki, you can, yeah, feel things, understand things. And I feel you with the fact that there's also like people that are really responsive to it, or after a session will be like, so like, what did you hear? Like, what do you know? Tell me.
Mm-hmm.
And then people who are more like, will tell you what they experience and then might ask
Mm-hmm.
you back or not. But I think it's so important. And it's, as you said, it's like just affirming, to feel something and then to have somebody on the other side feel it too. So I love that.
Exactly.
Alison, I can't believe we're almost at time. It's been such a beautiful conversation. We end every conversation with a rapid fire. But before we do, how can people get involved in your work? If someone's excited about what you're doing, where can they find you? What do you kind of offer? Yeah, feel free to share.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram. That's sort of my main platform right now, at transform_coaching. Um, I really do like, if you're someone who just is sort of at the beginning stage of this and wants to just find out more, I think the best thing that you could do is just follow me. And I provide a lot of valuable content and a lot of content that like you can get a lot out of depending on the work you're willing to put in from, the ideas that I create. So definitely just giving it a follow, checking it out. You can obviously apply to work with me if you go to on my Instagram bio, on my link tree, you can apply to work with me. It's also on my website, transform-coaching.com, to apply to work with me. And yeah, and then I am working on it right now, but I am putting together a group that I'm going to be sharing on my platforms that people can join. And it's really about it's going to be like a girls club. So it's really about feminine empowerment in the workplace, because I really believe that a big part of sort of the reason that so many women are burnout is because, again, burnout equals out of alignment. And because the way that our system is and the way that our workplace is currently is very aligned to the masculine energy. In order to sort of fit in, a lot of women end up suppressing their feminine, and that leads to a lot of burnout, as well as sort of the scarcity mindset that a lot of women have in the workplace due to, inequality in the past and all of that. And so creating that space where women can actually connect with others, get resources from others, get connected to, new opportunities, because I feel like there's so much of that community within the male space in whether it be like corporate America, entrepreneurship, whatever. But I think that what we really need to be doing as women, and in order to, really make us feel empowered in the workplace to show up as our full authentic selves, like, and our full feminine energy selves, is to feel supported by each other. And it's not until we create that community that I think that's really going to be possible. And so I'm creating a group so that people can join, so that you could just be within the space, be with other people who want to really, really step into showing up in the workplace as their full authentic self. And I'm really excited about that. So I'm going to be dropping that within the next couple of weeks. So if you follow me, you'll see it. And yeah, that's
amazing. I
the
love it.
best
And we'll
news.
add all the links on the show notes so people can easily find you. But that's so exciting.
Awesome.
I love this group that you're creating. I'm seeing more and more things like as a collective pop up, and I think that's what we need. We need more of those. So that's beautiful. Thanks for bringing that to us. All right, let's get into the rapid fire. The first one is, how do you unlock your vitality these days? Is there like something or a few things that you've been exploring that feed your vitality?
I think number one has always been eating well. That will always be my number one thing. Number two, I've really been getting into breath work, which I love. I think I've always been in like a shallow breather. And really just practicing deep breathing has been a game changer for me. And again, that sort of helps you regulate your nervous system. It does all of the good things. So that's been huge for me recently. And then three, because it's summer, is just being in the sunlight. Like the sunlight is my source of energy and happiness. And if I can be in the sunlight for 5 minutes a day, like it completely changes my day.
Oh my gosh, me too. I love that. The next one is, what are you saying no to these days?
What am I saying no to these days? I feel like I've not been saying a lot of no's. I would say, I've been practicing and I'm still trying to get better, but saying no to unintentional social media has been huge for me. The scrolling, the comparing, the going through other people's stuff isn't feeling aligned with me at all recently. And I've been getting much better, but still need to be saying no more to the time that I spend on social media.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can relate for sure, especially when a lot of our work is there.
Yeah.
The next one is, what is on your nightstand? Is there like a book, glass of water, anything that you may have?
Sometimes I do have water. I have some crystals, and I have my notebook. So my higher self notebook, or my higher self journal that I always write in. I have another journal. And I also actually recently have been having a basal body thermometer, because I've been tracking every morning my temperature to track my cycle. So that has been a big one that I just leave right there.
Awesome. The next one is, if you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
That's good. It would be to be easier on yourself. I used to put so much pressure on myself. And of course,
Mhm.
like I still put pressure on myself. But I think that like whenever I do inner child work, I just need to show myself compassion and love because I didn't give myself any of that for a really long time because I was
Mm.
trying to hold myself up to so many standards of perfection. And truly, I just needed to be easier on myself and to accept and love myself.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. That's all the rapid fire. It's been such a pleasure having you. I feel like we could have talked for 2 more hours.
No.
So thank you so much, and we'll have to have you back. We'll have to do a part two.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
All right, guys, let us know how you're enjoying it on social media, and we'll see you next week.